agree with that?
Sir, I believe that people that are in this United States that are citizens have legal status here.
Madam Secretary, we are joined on Zoom by a gentleman named Se-Jun Park. He is a United States Army combat veteran who was shot twice while serving our country in Panama in 1989. Like many veterans, he struggled with PTSD and substance abuse after his service. He was arrested in the 1990s for some minor drug offenses, nothing serious. He never hurt anyone besides himself, and he's been clean and sober for 14 years. He is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. He has sacrificed more for this country than most people ever have. Earlier this year, you deported him to Korea, a country he hasn't lived in since he was 7 years old. Will you join me in thanking Mr. Park for his service to our country?
Sir, I'm grateful for every single person that has served our country and follows our laws.
Can you please tell Mr. Park why you deported him?
Every one of them needs to be enforced.
But you understand that many veterans struggle with PTSD, many veterans struggle with substance abuse challenges. This man took 2 bullets for our country. You have broad authority, by the way, as Secretary, to issue humanitarian parole, to do deferred action. Will you commit to at least looking at Mr. Park's case to see if you can help him find a pathway back to this country that he sacrificed so much for?
I will absolutely look at his case, but I want you to remember that
Madam Secretary, the man behind you, please stand up, sir. His name is Jim Brown from Troy, Missouri. He is a Navy combat veteran who served our country in the Gulf War. He's married to a woman named Donna, who came to our country legally from Ireland when she was 11 years old. She has lived here for 48 years. Because of you, Jim's wife, Donna, has been in prison for the last 4 months. She did not come here illegally, and she has never committed any crime other than writing 2 bad checks totaling $80 10 years ago. She is currently in prison and facing deportation. Ms. Noem, will you thank Mr. Brown for his service to our country?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your service to our country.
Now, what possible explanation can there be for locking up his wife for 4 months when she has committed no crime other than writing a couple of bad checks for $80?
Sir, it is not my prerogative, my latitude, or my job to pick and choose which laws in this country get enforced.
You have broad discretion as the Secretary. You can issue parole, you can do all kinds of things, but you're choosing not to. Will you commit, again, to just reviewing Donna's case and reuniting this combat veteran with his beloved wife, who also loves this country?
I will review the case.
Now, Madam Secretary, you've already heard the story of Lance Corporal Alejandro Barranco, the United States Marine veteran who is behind you, who also has 2 brothers who are United States Marines. Will you thank Lance Corporal Barranco for his service?
Thank you for your service.
His father, Narcisco Barranco, is a landscaper in California who has lived peacefully in our country for 30 years and has no criminal record. Last spring, while he was mowing the lawn at an IHOP, ICE agents tackled him in the street and imprisoned him for weeks. A peaceful, hard-working man who raised 3 sons to be United States Marines. We need men of that character in this country. Again, as Secretary, you have broad discretion. Will you consider Lance Corporal Barranco's father for parole in place to stay in our country, owing to the fact that he has contributed to our country by raising 3 United States Marines?
This is an opportunity to remind everybody that every person that's in this country illegally has an opportunity to voluntarily go home and come back the right way.
He raised 3 United States Marines.
We will facilitate that.
He has been living here peacefully, doing his job for 30 years. You have discretion. You are choosing not to use it. Madam Secretary, you promised America that you would go after the worst of the worst. But these people are not the worst of the worst. A Purple Heart recipient, a military spouse, the father of 3 Marines. And it's not just veterans and military families. You are locking up and deporting children with cancer, mothers with babies in the NICU, United States citizens. There are many problems with your leadership, but the biggest problem is this. You don't seem to know how to tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys. Go after the bad guys. Go after the terrorists. Do not go after veterans, Marines, children,
Gentleman's
United
time's
States
expired.
citizens. I yield back.
Time's expired. I now recognize the gentlelady from Georgia, Ms. Green, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you. The previously Democrat-controlled administration allowed over 13 million border crossers from over 170 countries and territories to break our laws invade our country, rape our women and children, and murder our own people. They set all-time records for the highest number of illegal aliens ever encountered in a single day at 14,500, in a single month at 370,000, and in a single year at 3 million, not including the known gotaways. Thanks to Secretary Noem and the hard work of Tom Homan and all the brave men and women at DHS, our new Republican-controlled admin has produced the safest and most secure border our country has ever seen. Thank you very much for that. For the 7th consecutive month, U.S. Border Patrol released 0 illegal aliens into the United States. Daily average apprehensions at the southern border are 95% lower than the daily average under the last administration. 10 months under Trump has seen less apprehensions than 1 month under Biden. Since January 21 through the end of November, there have been 117,105 total enforcement encounters along the southwest border, which is nearly 40% less than the monthly average during the Biden administration. Meanwhile, there has been an 8,000 increase in death threats against ICE law enforcement. Secretary Noem, back in July, the department put out a press release titled "Worst of the Worst." Criminal proceedings begin in a case of transgender illegal alien accused of rape, child rape, not just rape, child rape of a 14-year-old boy in a sanctuary New York City bathroom. I wanted to highlight this case because it encapsulates so many different violent policies of Democrats. This is an increase in trans violence with their embrace of gender ideology, an egregious catch and release policy implemented under the last 4 years, and sanctuary cities that harbor criminal illegal alien monsters that have raped and murdered many Americans. Can you discuss further what you're facing in these sanctuary cities and the illegal alien monsters that have been released into American communities under the Biden administration?
Yeah, unfortunately, Congresswoman, we arrest individuals like that every day because they're so prevalent on our streets because of what happened under the Biden administration. Every day we're able to go out and encounter and bring to justice individuals who are raping our children, murdering our mothers, our grandmothers, our families are devastated by them. And I'm shocked at the Democrats' constant defense of these individual criminals over the American citizen that is out there just trying to live their lives, put food on the table, and live the American dream. And what we do at the Department of Homeland Security by making sure that we're out enforcing the law every day is making sure that those families get a chance to do that. So I'm so grateful for them. The 8,000% increase in death threats is real. These ICE agents and CBP officers that are out on our streets doing God's work live in these communities. They live there. These are their families and their neighbors that they're protecting, and they get up every day and do that job because they believe in their mission. They take an oath, and they are honorable men and women who are serving with greatness during a challenging time when activists and radicals attack them and put their lives in danger. I think it's shameful to see the defense of individuals who break our laws. We are a nation of laws. If we are not a nation of laws, we're no nation at all. And that is what we are doing every day, is following laws. If you guys don't like the law, go change it. That's your job. You don't complain. I was raised by a dad who said we don't complain about things. We fix them. Well, go fix them. If you don't like the law, quit bellyaching, quit hitting and attacking our ICE officers, quit going out and protesting and screaming vile things at them, quit calling them names. We wouldn't let our children do that. Go do something that actually matters by having an honest debate and changing the law. That's your jobs. You all should be fired, in my viewpoint.
I agree. Thank you so much for that, Secretary Noem. Back in 2021, I was one of only 16 members who voted against the Allies Act of 2021, which increased the number of special immigrant visas for Afghan nationals and loosened vetting requirements for eligibility. This brought in over 76,000 Afghans. Director Kent, what actions are being taken to identify and remove any of the 100,000 Afghan nationals admitted under the Biden admin who may have ties to terrorism, like the one who shot 2 National Guard members, tragically killing Sarah Beckstrom here in Washington, D.C.?
I'm sorry, gentlelady's time has expired, but
Can he just answer?
No, we're
quickly?
keeping everything quick to the 5 minutes. I'm sorry, but gentleman from New York is now recognized, Mr. Goldman, for 5 minutes.
Secretary Noem, let's talk about the law. Do you agree that asylum is a lawful pathway to immigrate to this country? Yes or no?
There's an asylum program, yes, in place.
All right. So
It wasn't
immigrants
used under
then
the
with
Biden
ongoing asylum applications are legally in this country, correct?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Your question was?
Immigrants with ongoing asylum applications are legally in this country.
There are individuals in this country that have applications that
And they are legally here because it's a lawful pathway, right?
it's a lawful platform.
Okay, so if your department then deports anyone with an ongoing asylum application, you are violating the law, correct?
Joe Biden left us with.
I'm not asking about Joe Biden. I'm asking you a
1.5
specific
million
question.
cases
If your
backlogged
department
asylum.
deports anyone with an
That's the program.
ongoing asylum application,
The
you
program
are
was
violating the
greatly
law. Is that
violated.
correct?
It was greatly violated when they allowed.
I'm
1.5
asking
million
you.
People to come
I'm
in and
asking you.
granted asylum applications.
Why are you filibustering?
by
Why can't you
ignoring
answer
the
the
law.
question? It's a
Because,
simple
Joe,
question.
Your president.
If your department
and your secretary
deports
did not
anyone
follow the law,
with an ongoing
those
asylum application, you are violating the law. Isn't that correct?
The asylum program was
Okay.
broken under the
Mr.
last.
Chairman, I will reclaim my time. She's not answering the question. But the obvious answer is that yes, if you follow a lawful pathway, asylum is a lawful pathway. If you have an open asylum case, you are here lawfully. But the problem that we are seeing around the country is that you are not following the law. Don't tell us to change the law. If you don't like the asylum system, you change the asylum law. Bring it to us. We'll work with you. I think it needs to be changed. But you can't just decide that you're not going to follow the law, and asylum is a law, and deport people who have ongoing applications. Unfortunately, that is exactly what's happening. It's happening across the street from my office right in New York City. Numerous, thousands of people who have come to court appearances, have left them with open asylum applications, have been arrested. And then they've been shipped off and many deported. In September, one applicant was ripped away from his wife and small children after such a court appearance. And then this happened to his wife. Please play the video. No, it's not. It's not this one. All right, it's not this video. Here it is. Now, after this incident, your department issued a statement that said the officer's conduct in this video is unacceptable and beneath the men and women of ICE. Our ICE law enforcement are held to the highest professional standards, and this officer is being relieved of current duties as we conduct a full investigation. 3 days later, you reinstated that officer and you put him back on duty. I sent you a letter and asked you what investigation was done and why was he reinstated. You did not answer that letter. So I'm going to give you an opportunity right here to explain to me that if that officer's conduct was, quote, beneath the men and women of ICE, unquote, why did you reinstate him?
Sir, that investigation was completed. I can give you that investigation and the information that you would like. This is.
Well, I wrote you 2 months ago. Why haven't you given it to me
I'm
yet?
actually surprised that you haven't gotten it. I'm going to ask my staff about that.
Well, you
because
shouldn't
I
be
have
surprised
responded
because generally
to
speaking, you
hundreds
do
and
not
hundreds, if not
respond to
thousands
us.
of your letters.
Now, the other problem that we are
Mayorkas, when he had
seeing
this
all
job,
over
didn't
the
respond to
country
letters for years.
is that your officers are wearing masks, are dressed in plain clothes, often going around without identification.
All of our officers are
And
identified.
I'm not asking a question. I introduced the No Secret Police Act to stop this. And we now have 113 co-sponsors so that they will not be masked and that they will identify themselves. Now, you say all of them are identifying themselves. That is not the case because last month in New York City again, the NYPD officers were injured by your masked, plainclothes ICE officers after they were called from 911 as residents witnessed your officers pulling individuals out of their vehicles and chasing them down the street. I also asked you what happened there. How were the NYPD officers injured by your officers? And you didn't respond. What's the answer?
Sir, our individual
Gentlemen's
officers
time
are
is
identified.
time has expired.
I yield back.
I recognize gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gonzalez, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary Noem. Thank you, Director Kent and Director Glasheen, for your patriotism, your service to our country. Thank you to the families for allowing everyone to serve. We're grateful for that. Democrats like to show clip after clip. I represent a district that's half of the southern border. Our lives were turned upside down under Joe Biden, and now we have our lives back due to President Trump and due to the policies that y'all are executing. So thank you. I have one question, but I'm going to try to, if there's time, I think it'd be important for the American people to get an update on the role Coast Guard played in the Venezuela oil tanker seizure. But first, I'd like to once again, thank you for being here. And so I'd like to first thank you, CISA. Thank you for keeping our nation's critical infrastructure safe. You are our nation's cyber first responders. Thank you to the Coast Guard. During our Texas floods, you showed up, Coast Guard showed up, you saved lives. Thank you to the Coast Guard for all the work that they've done in Jayada South. They've been the tip of the spear in the Southcom AOR for a long time. Their work often goes unnoticed. Thank you, HSI, for leading these anti-gang task force. They work. They're going out there. You're apprehending murderers. You're apprehending sexual offenders. You're doing it in a local, state, federal way. They're working. Thank you for that. Thank you, ICE. Thank you for keeping us safe by deporting all these people. I really appreciate the innovative idea of DHS owning its own airplanes. It's ridiculous that we had to essentially contract out in order to have these repatriation flights. That is a game changer. Thank you for that. Thank you, ERO, for adding bed space. This is exactly how we continue to deport the millions of convicted criminal aliens that are in this country. Thank you, NCTC, for keeping us safe. You're exactly right. We thank you for vetting, for going out and finally doing the role of vetting these people. You and I served overseas. Many of us did. And we know oftentimes it was more dangerous at the chow hall than outside the wire, right? So thank you for that vetting. Thank you, Border Patrol, for ending catch and release. Thank you, TSA, for keeping us safe during all our travel, and then also looking into any future vulnerabilities. Thank you, Secret Service. Thank you for not only keeping our leaders safe, but a lot of people don't realize Secret Service is key to school safety. I think that's just so important. That brings us all together. I wanted to say I want to use the bulk of my time to just thank you, because we don't do that enough here. It's always finger pointing. It's always somebody else's fault. Please go back to your agencies and thank the men and women that are serving every day and helping to keep this country safe. With that, I'd like to give you a little time to talk about the Venezuelan situation and what the Coast Guard is doing.
The operation that was conducted yesterday morning was a Coast Guard-led operation. It was in partnership with the Department of War and the Department of Justice, the FBI as well, and it was a successful operation directed by the president to ensure that we're pushing back on a regime that is systematically covering and flooding our country with deadly drugs and killing our next generation of Americans. Just the drugs that the Coast Guard has been able to interdict on the waters since that President Trump has been in office has been enough lethal doses of cocaine to kill 177 million Americans. That's 2/3 of our country that has been saved by blowing up, by going after and bringing to justice these individuals that are out at sea and those individuals that are funding it with a shadow fleet of sanctioned oil that should never be sold to benefit their profits and their pockets to kill Americans.
Thank you for that update. For many of us that served in uniform, oftentimes it was overseas. It was in the Middle East, or it was in Asia, or it was in Europe. And I think those AORs are very important. But for too long, president after president after president, our backyard has been left wide open, and we're completely shocked why all these terrorists are in our country and all these people are unvetted. All this chaos is happening when in our own backyard was unsafe. So thank you again for one. I know you traveled, you met with heads of state, El Salvador, Mexico, a couple that come to mind. But I just want to thank you and for making our backyard a priority and ultimately to keep Americans safe. Texans are more safe today than we were a year ago. And a lot of that is due to President Trump and due to the leadership that I'm seeing right here of executing those policies. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With that, Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentlelady from Illinois, Ms. Ramirez, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Chairman.
American citizens have been arrested or detained. We focus on those that are here illegally.
Secretary Noem, you lie and you lied to the American people. I will be including into the record an article by ProPublica from October 16, 2025, entitled, "We found that more than 170 U.S. citizens have been held by immigration agents. They've been kicked." There's nothing smiling about U.S. citizens. I'm sorry,
ProPublica is
that's
such a
very
tabloid.
inappropriate. Let me continue. They've been kicked, dragged, and detained for days. The next one.
The Trump administration has specifically targeted the worst of the worst. The individuals that we are going after are those that are violent criminals, those that are breaking our laws.
Do you, Secretary Noem, again, you lied to the American people. I will be including into the record an article by the NBC News from December 7, 2025, entitled, "ICE has arrested nearly 75,000 people with no criminal records, data shows." The co-equal branch of government, and it is your obligation as a member of the executive branch to honor decisions made by the highest court of the land. Yes or no, Secretary?
We are
Yes.
abiding by all federal judges' orders. Absolutely.
The Justice Department said that when the administration was ordered back in March to stop sending detained migrants to a mega prison in El Salvador, you personally made the final call to continue the flights anyway. Is that correct?
And the decisions that are made on deportations, where flights go and when they go, are my decision at the Department of Homeland Security. And we'll continue to do the right thing, continue to work and protect Americans, no matter what radical judge comes out and tries to stop us. We'll do.
You lied on the record, and you lied to members of this committee. You violated court orders by not turning around deportation flights bound for El Salvador, where we know that hundreds of people under your leadership have reported that they were raped, they were beaten, and they nearly died. And your agents used chemical weapons in Chicago despite court orders from District Court Judge Ellis forbidding their use. Secretary Noem, you, Gregory Bovino, and your ICBP and DHS deputized agents have waged an unaccountable, unlawful, unconstitutional war against communities across the nation. Our residents have been surveilled, they've been threatened, they've been tear gassed, they've been hit with pepper balls, they've been shot, they've been subjected to warrantless arrest and precision immobilization maneuvers, they've been kidnapped and disappeared under your leadership. So we have a lot to talk about, but you and your department continue to reject congressional oversight. And you know how I know this? I know this because I've requested a meeting with ICE Field Office Director Russell Hutt. I requested a meeting with Field Office Director Samuel Olson. And when you came to Chicago on October 3rd, I publicly and formally requested a meeting with you. So I'm going to be including a letter I sent on October 3rd requesting a meeting with Secretary Noem. So Secretary Noem, I want to ask you again, will you commit to meet with me, yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a lot to talk about, and actually my scheduler has a couple dates that I'll get to you after this meeting. I appreciate that. So look, I want to be very clear. You have misused resources appropriated by Congress. You've engaged in unethical behavior. You have repeatedly made false and misleading statements to Congress and to the press, and you've undermined the separation of powers and disregarded the role of Congress and the courts. Bottom line, you lie with impunity. You reject checks and balances, and you ignore Congress and the courts. Your options are limited. Either you're going to resign, Trump's going to fire you, or you will be impeached. I've already called for your resignation. You may remember I hand-delivered my request to you back in May, and I urge you to reconsider resignation because I've taken the first step towards your impeachment, and I've called on the Judiciary Committee to open an investigation into your lawlessness. Mr. Chairman, I know that at the end we'll be entering a number of articles into consent, but since I have a few moments, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter calling the Judiciary Committee to investigate Secretary Noem's impeachable offenses. Whatever you choose, the American people will have justice. Secretary, and you will be held accountable. I'm going to make sure of that every single day. With that, Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Luttrell, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Secretary. It's good to see you, and thank you again for coming to Texas after the Kerrville floods. Your team was amazing. Their interaction with the leadership in our state, up and down the chain of command, was outstanding. Not something I read about, I saw it. So I'm speaking from the truth. So let's talk about worldwide threats, if you don't mind. This may go back and forth to Mr. Glasheen and Mr. Kent. My questions, first and foremost, is the nefarious actors globally, they're kind of everywhere. And as we try to protect the motherland, in the cyberspace, air, sea, and land, something's come to my attention in the committee hearing we had earlier, undersea cabling. And I don't know if you're a subject matter expert on this. I really wasn't until this hearing. But a large amount of our information flows under the water, something that most people aren't aware of, but I can assure you that the bad actors globally probably are. Now, it's multi-jurisdictional from what I understand. It's the Department of Justice, it's the Department of War, and then it's the Department of Homeland Security. And they kind of juggle these, kind of juggle the effort. Can you give me some insight on the protection mechanism that Homeland Security has for our undersea cabling? And I consider this a very viable threat specifically for information flow, considering everything that goes back and forth across the water. Can you give me a kind of a high-level briefing considering the atmosphere of what we're looking at?
Yes, I can, and I'll try to leave some time for the other individuals too, but the Department of Homeland Security has 23 different components. Several of them have some responsibility for surveillance and monitoring of those cables and the information that flows through them. So CISA is our cybersecurity agency, which looks for bad actors, hunts down those bad actors, and then hardens our systems. So where we see a weakness or a vulnerability, they help us do that with the interactions we have with private companies, their communications, or other countries. But then we also have our Coast Guard out on the waters each and every day, which help us with surveillance activities to see if there's nefarious actors that would be out there jeopardizing those systems. We have INA, which is our intelligence and analysis. They are the ones that are helping us with our covert operations. They're the ones who are coordinating with our intelligence agencies on what we see as hacking attempts or enemies that would try to endanger those cables or cut them, damage them so that they couldn't be utilized to keep our critical infrastructure going. FEMA is the agency that's responsible for, on our worst day, if we needed something or someone to run the government, if there was an attack in this country, FEMA is the agency that would do that and maintains the resources to making sure that we have an operating government in an emergency disaster situation.
I know there's redundancy on the cabling system, and there's from what I understand, there's over 1 million miles of cable underwater. I want to make sure that we have enough protection in place so the ripple effect is not catastrophic to the country. Mr. Kent, you got something to add to that? I was going to shift over to Mr. Glasheen.
In terms of undersea cabling, no, I do not.
Okay. Mr. Glasheen, I have a question for you. So as far as trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking, this always hurts me to say this, but Houston, Texas is in my district, and it is the worst city in the country for sex trafficking in the country. I just cannot believe that. What is the FBI doing amongst other agencies? You just happen to be sitting here in front of me. And Madam Secretary, you can probably jump in on this too. Enough's enough. I understand the complexities of the World Wide Web and how these bastards are doing this, and we can't seem to grab a hold of them. What's the answer?
Our HSI investigators specialize in child trafficking and human trafficking. They get up every single day and hunt down those individuals that victimize our children and partner with nonprofits and other agencies with the FBI to do that. Yes, it's shocking to me that Houston is one of the hotbeds as well.
We need to take a better look at this because we're losing. I mean, we're losing so bad. I don't even know how to define it. And this has been happening. I said this exact same thing to Mr. Mayorkas, and if I was here before that, I'd say the same thing again. It's just, we have not figured it out. Mr. Glasheen, you got anything for that?
Yeah, I would tell you, it's been a priority with this director. And, you know, so far this year, compared to last year, we have 300 plus human traffickers arrested, up 15%.
I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I appreciate that, and
I'll catch you after class.
If one of the following witnesses wants to give him some time to answer that very important question, they can do that. Gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from New York, Mr. Kennedy, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Noem, with about a year as DHS Secretary under your belt, there's no shortage of criticisms for me to choose from today. You've deported American citizens, bringing a level of inhumanity to this nation's immigration laws that I haven't seen in my lifetime. You've terrorized communities, including my own in Buffalo, New York, vowing to go after the worst of the worst, but instead detaining women, children, and hardworking individuals in pursuit of the American dream. You've botched a response to one of the most devastating floods we've seen, an extreme weather event along the Guadalupe River that took more than 130 innocent lives, including more than 35 children. Central Texas waited days for your agency to respond because of the reckless policies you've implemented. Your FEMA lead was missing in action, completely unreachable, as were FEMA's call lines, with 84% of calls unanswered on July 7th, 3 days after the floods. FEMA personnel, despite your slashing of their ranks, who were ready and willing to help, waited days to spring into action because of your policies. Disasters do not wait for bureaucracy. Your abysmal performance goes beyond your woeful disaster response. You've also taken a sledgehammer to FEMA's recovery, preparedness, and mitigation missions. You canceled more than $4 billion in building resilient infrastructure and communities funds, a program that helps communities reduce their risk of natural disasters. You withheld millions in FEMA funds for emergency alerting infrastructure found to be in violation of the Impound Control Act. You, perhaps most critical to my state of New York, canceled more than 90% of New York State's Homeland Security Program funding, including $134 million in urban area security initiative funds for New York City's greater metropolitan areas. You have mismanaged these grants to the point where cities and states, including New York, are suing you to recover counterterrorism funding that's lawfully theirs and that Congress intended for them to receive. It's a tragedy that we're here today discussing these cuts to counterterrorism and security grant funds for a city that was the main site of the September 11th attacks, the entire reason your department was established in the first place. As the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Emergency Management, it's my responsibility to show the American public how you've systemically upended FEMA and emergency preparedness as we know it. So I have a couple of questions. Simple yes or no answer will suffice. Would you agree with the national security officials' assessment that the United States has been operating in a heightened threat environment for several years now?
Yes.
Yes or no? Would you say New York City is susceptible to these kinds of security threats?
Yes, and that's why they should spend.
So with New York City being the number one terrorist target in the nation,
the federal government gave them.
With New York City being the number one, I reclaim my time. With New York City being the number one security threat in this nation, it's unconscionable that you would cut $134 million in urban area security initiative funding for the city of New York. What compels you to knowingly make our cities less safe with these funding cuts?
What compels you, your mayor, and your governor to release thousands of criminals on the streets rather than to turn them over to ICE? You'd rather release a murderer out on your street.
You cut $134 million in funds
honor our detainers
to support the security of New York City and the state of New York, the number one threat in this nation. In your own words, your cuts are blatantly political, callous, and outright dangerous. It's clear you have no interest in countering real threats in the homeland. While high-risk cities and disaster zones wait for help, you've devoted the past 11 months of violent raids, anti-police policies, and nonstop photo ops. You've brought shame to a department that was created after 9/11 in a time of unity to protect our people. Your failure to lead is a direct threat to the homeland security in our nation, and you should resign immediately. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Strong, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ranking member, and members of this committee. I thank you, too, to our witnesses for being here today, for your work to protect the homeland in an increasingly complex threat environment. My question today focuses specifically on the evolving drone threat. Mr. Glasheen, the FBI's National Counter-UAS Training Center at Redstone Arsenal, is now the central hub for preparing federal, state, and local partners for drone threats at major events. What makes Redstone Arsenal such an effective location for this mission, and how does that setting support the scale of training required for World Cup, America 250, and the 2028 Olympics?
Thank you for your question, Congressman. What makes Redstone a great partner for us is, one, the support that we have from Congress. Number two, the space we have there. The FBI has been in Huntsville for a long time. Huntsville also houses our Special Agent Bomb Technician program, where we train bomb technicians, EOD professionals across the United States, and we model the counter-UAS school off of that. So that proof of concept has been in place, and we're mirroring that process to train the counter-UAS operators.
Thank you. I was there for the inaugural graduation. I'm telling you, it was most impressive. I can assure you there's no other location in the country that offers the same mix of controlled airspace, testing ranges, partnered agencies, and mission infrastructure that the FBI has at Redstone Arsenal. Counter-UAS has the ability in Huntsville to jam, block, drop, intercept, and do forensics. As demand for this specialized training grows, what investment should Congress prioritize to ensure long-term stability for this mission at Redstone?
I'd say yesterday, or the legislation in front of, I think, the Senate right now for the NDA, for the authorities, that'd be the first step to give us the ability to lawfully use the counter-UAS authorities. I think additionally, it is just like the computer technology, it evolves with the months. And so the counter-UAS technology is going to change, so have the appropriate funding and support to stay up with that technology so we can mitigate the threats that our nation faces.
Thank you. Those graduates were from all over the country, and it was most impressive. Secretary Noem, this committee has failed to thank you for your faithful service to America. The southern border is closed. Human smugglers, drug traffickers, and illegal aliens that invaded this country from more than 160 different countries are being returned to the country of their origin. Fentanyl poisonings are down more than 35%. Secretary Noem, thank you for your efforts to keep these drugs out of our country in an effort to save a generation of Americans. It's not a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's an American issue. And I thank you. Secretary Noem, many of the most advanced counter unmanned aerial systems technologies are being tested and evaluated in North Alabama. How is DHS ensuring that those capabilities transition quickly into field use, particularly ahead of these major events? And what more can Congress do to accelerate the pipeline?
We appreciate the authorities that are necessary for us to operate, and standing up a drone program and counter drone program is one of the top 3 priorities of the department this next year to meet the threats that we face every day. Every day, our Secret Service, our Coast Guard, our Border Patrol are seeing drones used against them. Criminals using them to surveil them, to find out law enforcement operations, and to leak them, and to put their lives in danger. So making sure that we have the ability to operate and to see far into the future and over our operations is important, but we also need the opportunity to take them down when necessary. We've seen the cartels using weaponized drones against each other. We know it's only a matter of time before we see that here on the homeland. My job is to make sure that we're prepared and that we're equipped, and to advocate to you for the authorities that we need to make that happen.
Thank you. With the new counter-UAS authorities expected to be enacted as part of the National Defense Authorization Act, the next challenge is execution. What concrete steps is DHS planning to take in the coming months to ensure that these new authorities are fully operational before the FIFA World Cup, the Olympics, and America 250? And I even want to take it even further. You start looking at college football. We've got to take it even further. Rather than They're all large gathering events. I actually had the Secretary of Security of the Southeastern Conference before Mr. Kennedy and my committee, and it was unbelievable. On any given weekend, 8 to 10 football stadiums with greater than 90,000 people there. We must defend the home front. And I'm sorry that my time has expired, but I thank you for being before this committee today.
Gentleman yields. I now recognize the gentlelady from New Jersey, Ms. MacGyver, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, for holding this hearing today. The greatest threat to the homeland right now is a Department of Homeland Security that the American people no longer trust, a department actively undermined by its own secretary. This is on you, Secretary Noem. Today's hearing is supposed to be about worldwide threats, but Madam Secretary, under your watch, the threat is coming from inside the building. Because when DHS, the department charged with keeping Americans safe, is caught breaking the law, lying to the American public, systematically dismantling oversight, fueling bigotry, and targeting vulnerable communities, trust is broken. Let's start with the basics. How can we trust your department with you at the helm? The American people deserve an answer, even if you spent the past year dodging accountability like it's your full-time job. We need to talk about oversight. Oversight is not optional. It is not a courtesy because you feel like it. It is not something you entertain only when it's politically convenient to you. Yet, time and time again, Secretary Noem, you have treated congressional oversight as an inconvenience at best, and at worst, something to be invaded, ignored, or denied altogether. Republicans on this committee may be willing to hand over their constitutional duty in order to kiss this administration's butt cheeks, but I am not. I will never. My district is not, and the American people sure aren't. While Republicans turned this hearing into a praise fest for your failed 10-year communities across America, including mine in New Jersey, are made less safe because DHS under your leadership has become unproductive and malicious. All of the thank you that we keep hearing from across the aisle, there's no thank you from me. And we see the truth that you're trying to hide. The truth is you are deeply unqualified for the post you hold. This is on full display in the way you treat the people in this body, myself included, who have been elected to serve our communities and keep them safe. Representative Grajava, Senator Padilla, myself and others whose character, integrity, and bodies were attacked by your department without evidence and without apology. Far beyond being disrespectful, you have shown a complete disregard for the oversight authority granted to us by law. You have repeatedly shown that you will target whoever you want, whenever you want, without accountability. Members of Congress, members of our communities, and even American citizens, as many of my colleagues have continued to point out today. Secretary Noem, that's not leadership. That's not democracy. And that is not how this works. Again, this is not just about you. Don't want you to think this is just a pick on you day. This is about the Trump administration that has turned DHS into a political weapon. So I'll ask you this. Is Trump embarrassed by your tenure, or is this exactly the kind of god-awful leadership he wants at DHS? Yes or no?
Ma'am, we've already conducted more oversight visits.
No. It's a yes or no. Yes or no. Okay, Secretary Noem, this is my time to talk, not your time to talk. I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time. Chair, I reclaim my time. Secretary Noem, DHS is breaking the law, hiding information from Congress, and shutting out oversight. So let me ask you, how can the American people trust your department with you at the helm with this kind of behavior?
The American people absolutely trust this department to keep them safe. And we are showing that every day by the support we get across the country, the amount of people that we're recruiting to all of our different agencies.
Thank you, Secretary Noem. Do you agree that using DHS resources to target members of Congress is an abuse of power?
Excuse me, would you say that?
You
again?
would have heard me if you stopped talking
If you
and
would
listened to
stop
my
talking
questions.
crazy,
Do you
you're making
agree
stuff up.
that using DHS resources to target members of Congress is an abuse of power?
We are not doing that. We are out there enforcing the law, doing our work, and we are allowing oversight.
Of course, we're not
visits
going to get
more
any
than the
answers. With
entire
that,
Joe
Mr.
Biden
Chairman, I
administration
yield
did.
back.
Gentlelady yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. McKean, for 5 minutes of questions.
It's no wonder that chaos has become the commonplace when rudeness is so on display. Look, it's both sides. We've created a lack of civility in this country, but we're perpetuating in this society what your administration is trying to correct, and that is returning back to the rule of law. What separates us from falling into chaos as a nation where poverty envelops us is when we return to order and a display of respect towards law enforcement, a display of respect to officials. This custom, and you've been a member of Congress, of where we talk over people and we don't give secretaries a chance to respond, the height of self-importance that too many people try to employ in this building, not remembering we're all here as public servants to serve the people. We lift our hearts up far beyond our fellow countrymen. I'll tell you who says thank you. It's those whose families that were the victim of assaults and rapes and murders under the auto pen period the last 4 years. They say thank you. Those who see the madness of lawlessness, the lack of respect to law enforcement, the heightened element of law enforcement sitting in their vehicles and being targeted say thank you. Those families of law enforcement